Hey everybody, Ryan here at etrailer. Today we're going to be checking out the Diamond Smart LED strip lights. LED lighting nowadays has really come a long way, much more affordable and really easy to kind of set up and use. And so what a lot of people are doing are projects just like this. You know, these lights just stick onto the surface, and so you see people putting them in boats, campers, you know, motorhomes, even inside your normal house, wherever you have power, whether it be 12 volt or you know, a regular house outlet, you can use these things. So they're really cool and really versatile. And one of the things that kind of separates these from some of the others is all the different things you're going to be able to do with them. So, you know, one of the settings I got on right now is the lights can fade and kind of change colors. And that's because they're smart strips, so you have a ton of different choices and you can really kind of customize how you want yours to be set up. Since this does have this remote, you can do all different sorts of things with the lights. You know, change colors, just regular solid colors. You can make them dimmer, make them brighter. There's different modes that you can go through and they'll, you know, change colors on their own. You can even increase the speed at which it does that. You know, it'll play with music too, so if you had a stereo going, the lights will kind of flash with that. Put it on a timer. Pretty much anything you want to do, you can. So having that adjustability is well worth it, at least to me, because I know if I were to set something like this up on one of my own projects, personally I always kind of have a vision on what I think it's going to look like. And so let's say if I thought, you know, blue lights would look really cool, and you get lights that are just solid blue and you go to set them up and you're not super crazy about it, you did all that work for something you're not really too happy with, right? And so, you know, having all these different options will really let you kind of dial everything in and set up your particular application exactly how you want it. With there being so many different colors and functions, I'm not going to bore you to death running through them all right now. We'll kind of check the lights out a little more, and we'll try to kind of run through all of them here in a little bit if that's what you want to see. But as far as the kits go, there's a couple different lengths. You can get 16 foot or 33 foot depending on what you're trying to go for. And this will work with your regular outlet. So they give you a box here that you can plug in if you want to run these inside of your house or maybe your RV or something like that. And they also give you the adapters, that way you can use your 12 volt stuff. And on the end as well, you have two different pins that your lights can plug into, which we'll get to in a minute. I'll show you a couple cool things you can do to kind of really customize everything. And as far as the quality goes, I feel like it's pretty good. Just another example, here's another strip. I believe this is an Optronic strip. And I've actually used these. I had an old jet boat years ago and I've put this roll on there, and these just stay one color. They worked good and I didn't have any issues with them. I did notice though, didn't take too long for this to kind of fade yellow, but granted it was out in the sun. Hard to say if these will do that. Just haven't, you know, had the lights on enough time to tell. But to me, these definitely feel like higher quality. Just the material overall is a lot thicker, and it feels really well built actually. You do get really good double-sided sticky tape, and as long as the surface that you're putting it on is clean, this ain't going anywhere. This stuff works very well, and that would be my advice. You know, whatever you're gonna put it on, clean it, use some alcohol, let it dry. That way when you go to stick this on, it'll stay put. Something pretty cool about these too is you can actually cut the LEDs and they'll still work. So every now and again on there will be a line indicating you can use scissors and cut it there, and that's exactly what we did up here. Because sometimes if you go to put it around really tight turns and bends, you know, you can only do so much with these, and so it was easier to cut them to length. Looks really clean, and in order to get both sides powered up, you know, because one end will plug into your you know, your control box. Well, if you cut it, you got to complete that connection for them to all work right. So if you do that, what you're going to need to get is these little pins here. So we carry these in a 2-pack. And what that'll allow you to do is plug into the other end there. So for example, originally your light strip will have an end with those pins in. All right, and if you get that plugged in here. So if you were to cut it, you would just have this end left, and you can't go female to female there without, it's not gonna work. So you get this little pin adapter, and that will allow you to plug that other side in and get both sides powered up. And then there's also too, in some cases, you might need to extend it, extend the wiring, something like that, to reach over to the other side. There's this cable as well, and those pins work with it, that you can plug in, and extend and get some extra length there. One of the things a lot of people do wonder is how many of these kits are you going to kind of be able to link together and get them all to work. And from my understanding, you can do 3 of the 30 plus foot kits, or 32 foot kits, so 3 of them. And to do that, you'd have to use those little adapter pins I talked about, in most cases, just kind of depending on your setup. If you want to run more than that, you are going to need additional power supplies to kind of isolate and be able to power everything up safely. And if you do that as well, probably not a bad idea to make sure your electrical system in general is up to par, especially if you're doing 12 volt stuff. Make sure your wire diameters are relatively thick, and kind of go from there. Thankfully, these lights don't pull too many amps, which is good. So you kind of get away with some lighter duty stuff. And that actually kind of brings me to a point as well. Something like a boat or a camper, especially if you're on 12 volt, say if you're out fishing or something, you could leave these on and you're not gonna really have to worry too much about them draining your battery, because they just pull so little amperage. So definitely a bonus there. You get a lot of light for a little power. So not only can you use a remote to control everything, you can also download an app on your mobile device and have complete control of lights as well. So that's pretty cool. You have a backup, so to speak. Now if this battery dies or you misplace it or something, over time. Something I noticed with the remote is you do have to kind of have it pointed at your controller, right? So your controller, this is the antenna, or where it's going to receive that signal. It'd be cool if they made it longer so you can kind of mount it up in a better spot, but it's really just going to depend on your application. So on our boat, we have it under the console, and so if I were to stand at the front of it and point this back, it's not going to change. As long as we're back here in an area where it can pick up a decent signal, it works exactly like it should. So just wanted to mention that, if yours is tucked up under there, you're not going to be able to stand 50 feet away and change the light. So just something to keep that in mind, especially when you're going to kind of mount everything up. Something I do recommend doing, especially on an application like this, and everyone's setup's going to be a little bit different, is to, you're able to power the lights off and on with the remote and the app on your phone too. But I put ours on a switch. That way I could kind of have manual control of them as well. And my thought is, this is cutting power completely. So with that off, it's not able to communicate with our controller under there, because without them on a switch, it's always going to have some power. That way the remote can communicate. So could be a potential issue there if something's in storage for a long time and you don't disconnect the battery. And for me, I just like kind of having that complete control. That way, if you turn these off and then you push a button and with it in your pocket, it's not going to turn them on and stuff. So always an option and just something to think about. If you need switches or anything like that, we do carry these right here at etrailer. So at the end of the day, a really cool set. You can do a ton of different things with these and really customize your particular application, whether it be a boat. Maybe you're putting them on your RV under the awning, or underneath a motorhome, or inside the house on top of your cabinets. Like I said, ton of different things. I've even heard of people putting them up on their gutters at home and having kind of year-round Christmas lights, and then on St. Patrick's Day, they turn them green, and you can do a lot of really cool stuff. So I like them. I'm thinking about picking up a set for myself, honestly, after seeing them on this. And with that said, you know, if you want to see a few more of the functions, feel free to stick around. We'll go ahead and just kind of run through a few of them now, and hopefully answer any of your questions. I'm going to control everything here, and we're just going to go through a handful of those functions like we talked about. So with the lights, you know, we have red, green, blue, white, and just about everything in between. I mean, there's so many different colors. It's really cool. You know, you can change it to just about anything you want. And then there's different modes as well. So you got some that just kind of change drastically like that. And what I like about the setup too, not many of them you can do this, is you can kind of change the speed at which they change. So, you know, you could slow it down to where, you know, a few seconds go by in between each change, or you can speed it up, make it real fast. Personally, I kind of like let's see if I can find it here. There's just so many of them. I kind of like the one that fades like this, especially if you slow it down quite a bit. I think that's pretty cool how it works. And this one you can really slow down, so it's just starting to go now. So there's a lot of different options, you know, and even if you have a stereo, you can change it to a mode where it'll kind of pick up the beat of the music and kind of flash with it. I'm sure we've all seen that before. We don't have a radio or in the boat, so but like I said, sure a lot of you have seen that out there and kind of how that works. So that's always something you could play with as well. And that'll finish up our look at of the Diamond Smart LED strip lights.